News.
The leaders of the coup in Niger have refused to receive representatives from the United Nations, the African Union and the regional organization Ecowas. The junta say their safety couldn't be guaranteed. But leaders did meet the Deputy U.S. Secretary of State. Victoria Nuland described the 2 hours of talks in the capital Niamey as frank and difficult. Her request to meet deposed President Mohamed Bazoum was denied. Charles Stratford joins us now from Senegal's capital in Dakar. So, Charles, where does this leave the prospect of a negotiated solution then?
Well, these avenues, seemingly for a negotiated solution, are getting increasingly slim. This is just the latest rebuttal by the Niger coup leaders for seemingly any kind of dialogue. Let's bear in mind that so far there have been delegations sent by Nigeria, by Ecowas, by Chad, as you say, by the acting Deputy Secretary of State, Victoria Nuland, and then today this new delegation, which was the AU, the African Union, Ecowas, again rebutted. So they seem entrenched. There seems to be this complete refusal by the Niger leadership to free President Bazoum. There has been a letter or an official statement made by the military leaders in Niger, putting a little bit more detail as to why they say they didn't allow this latest delegation to come in. They said the current context of public anger and revolt following the sanctions imposed by ECOWAS does not permit the welcoming of the delegation in the required conditions of serenity and security. Well, as you can imagine, members of ECOWAS and ECOWAS's backers are going to see this as being a pretty poor excuse. But we understand that they are still determined to explore every single small opportunity at some potential peaceful solution in order to avoid this threat, as a last resort by ECOWAS, of a military intervention.
Charles, where does this leave then that list of options, if we can call that ECOWAS will be looking at when it meets on Thursday?
Well, at the moment, ECOWAS is still very much challenged by the basics of trying to pull together the respective countries, that is, potential deployment of troops. We've seen the kind of problems that Nigeria has suffered. Or certainly the Nigerian president, who of course is the chairman of ECOWAS, his want for a deployment of forces was refused by the Nigerian Senate. Many senators in Nigeria concerned about this potentially leading to an escalation, and we know that Nigeria has struggled for many years now with armed groups like Boko Haram. Interestingly also, analysts are saying there seems to be potential pushback by ECOWAS countries because this kind of intervention that has been so heavily endorsed by the former colonial power in many of these countries is seen potentially as being very politically explosive in those countries because, of course, there are opposition groups that are very much against the continued, what they say is the meddling by France, the former colonial power, and any exterior countries, foreign countries, in the internal affairs of these respective states. So there seems to be potential fears there also. And as we've been talking about, then of course there are the fears of any kind of intervention leading to a spreaded regional war with countries like Burkina Faso and Mali that say it would be a declaration of war against them also. The armed group situation. And there's also pushback, of course, from non-ECOWAS members that border Niger. You know, Algeria has said that it wants no part in it and would see any kind of intervention as being a threat on Algeria. Chad, although it has been trying to negotiate and mediate, also says it wants no role in any military intervention. So, yeah, this latest rebuttal, this latest refusal to allow this delegation in does not bode well for any kind of peaceful solution as we go forward towards that scheduled meeting by ECOWAS on Thursday.
All right, thanks so much. Charles Stratford there.